My ex-husband Adrian Cole and his wealthy friends recently started a twisted little game they called the bankruptcy trial. For 1 full month, they would pretend to lose everything. No money, no status, no connections, no safety net. The purpose was simple. They wanted to see which women would stay once the luxury disappeared. They planned it carefully. Business partners announced fake financial collapse. Leadership changes were staged. Rumors of debt spread quietly through their social circles. Friends, family members, even people who worked closely with them agreed to play along. Adrian showed up at Vanessa Harts' high-rise, wearing a $5 t-shirt and dusty work boots, looking like someone who had just been laid off from a construction site. He went to the woman he once called the love of his life, and she lost her mind. She yelled at him in the lobby, accused him of being useless, said she wasn't about to support a grown man who couldn't provide security, escorted him out while residents pretended not to stare. He sat outside on the sidewalk for almost an hour. Then he called me. When the phone rang, I was in the kitchen frosting Lily's birthday cake. Pink icing, too much glitter. She insisted on both. My 4-year-old had my phone in her hands, playing a game while I worked. She answered before I could stop her. I didn't hear Adrian's voice at first, but I saw Lily's face change. Her eyes widened. Then she lit up like someone had just handed her a miracle. She ran toward me so fast. One of her sneakers flew off behind her. "Mommy," she yelled. "Daddy went broke. That means he can come to my birthday this year." I froze. Contact name on my screen still said Adrian. Do not answer. The last time he called was Christmas. He only contacted me during holidays. Not because he missed us. Because his parents liked pretending we were still one happy family. We would show up together, smile, hold hands in front of them, let them take pictures. As soon as the performance ended, he dropped my hand at the door and drive back to Vanessa. I would stand there holding the $2,000 he paid me for the act. Never cried about it. That money covered half a year of rent. So when I heard he was broke, my first reaction wasn't sympathy. It was confusion. Why wasn't he calling Vanessa? His voice sounded different, smaller. "Rachel," he said carefully, "I don't have anywhere to go. I haven't eaten all day. Can I stay with you?" I was ready to refuse. Then Lily grabbed my skirt. Her eyes were wide and hopeful, in that fragile way children look when they're about to believe in something dangerous. "Please, Mommy, just this once. It's my birthday. Other kids have their dads that hurt." Lily always wanted her father around. And to be fair, Adrian used to be good with her. Took her to theme parks. I bought her princess dresses, expensive toys I could never afford. Until one day she came home quiet. Too quiet. She told me she wouldn't bother Daddy anymore. I remember driving straight to his villa that night. I remember shaking. I remember confronting Vanessa in a way that didn't feel like me at all. After that, Adrian stopped asking about Lily. But today was her birthday, and all she wanted was both parents in the same room. "She misses you," I said. "Finally, you can come for dinner." He exhaled like someone who had just been rescued. He asked if I still lived at Mirador Heights. I went silent. I had never lived there. Lily and I rented a small apartment in the Garden District, close to her preschool. Food trucks lined the street at night. Drunk karaoke echoed from the bar on the corner. It wasn't glamorous, but it was ours. There was a long pause before he asked for the address. When Adrian walked in later that evening, even dressed like someone who had lost everything, he still carried himself like money. Lily ran to him and wrapped her arms around his legs. He hugged her, kissed her hair, but his eyes scanned the apartment carefully. "Judging this where you've been living?" he asked. The apartment was spotless, warm, every piece of furniture chosen by Lily and paid for by me. She had never once felt poor here, but compared to his mansion, it offended him. "5 minutes ago, you were begging to sleep here," I said evenly. "Now you're looking down on it." He stiffened, then seemed to remember he was supposed to be bankrupt. He sat down awkwardly. "Why aren't you living in the condo I bought you after the divorce?" I stared at him. "What condo?" He frowned. "I told Ethan to buy you a place at Mirador and transfer $10 million as your settlement." $10 million? The words felt unreal. I left that marriage with 1 suitcase and a newborn. I survived by selling the jewelry his parents had given me. I never received anything, I said. Slowly his expression changed. "Rachel, even if I didn't love you the way you loved me, I wouldn't abandon my own child. You did. For 4 years. His anger became my reality. 3 jobs, no sleep. Delivering food in the snow. Coming home with numb fingers and swollen feet. No husband, no parents. No safety net. And now, he was sitting in my kitchen telling me there had been $10 million. He pulled out his phone. Immediately, his tone shifted. Cold. Controlled. "Ethan, 4 years ago, the Mirador condo and the $10 million transfer, were they delivered personally?" There was hesitation. Then Ethan answered carefully. Vanessa said she would take care of it. The air in the room changed. Vanessa already had everything. If she stole my daughter's future too, she had made a mistake. Because I don't lose twice. At 7 o'clock, I brought out Lily's cake. He screamed and hugged me. Mommy, you're the best. I love you. Adrian smiled. But his phone kept lighting up. I knew what he was thinking. It was Vanessa's birthday too. Every year before this he spent with her. Not a coincidence that my daughter and that woman shared the same date. For the first time since walking in, he didn't look confident. He looked uncertain. And I realized something. If this was a game, he might have just lost. Adrian barely touched the cake. Lily didn't notice. She was too busy smiling. Too busy finally having both her parents at the same table. She handed him the second slice proudly. Dad, this is my first birthday with you, she said. I'm really happy. He forced a smile and put his phone face down. But I knew where his mind was. For 4 years, this day belonged to Vanessa, not my daughter. When dinner ended, I didn't pretend. And you should go, I told him. He looked up slowly. I don't have anywhere. That's not my responsibility. The hallway light flickered as he stepped outside. He stood there longer than necessary, like he expected me to call him back. I didn't. Later that night, after Lily fell asleep with frosting still on her cheek, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I answered. It was him. I went to Vanessa. He admitted. I didn't ask for details. He kept talking anyway. He said she thought it was a joke. At first thought the fake bankruptcy was part of some surprise. Then someone in their private group chat mentioned the company, drowning in debt, suggested she sell one of her properties to help him survive. She was removed from the chat minutes later. Yesterday she was family. Today, she was disposable, according to Adrian. Her tone changed fast. She said his problems weren't hers. Asked if they were married. Asked if his parents ever accepted her. Asked why she should sell anything. For a man who couldn't even protect himself. He sounded hollow while telling me this. And if you don't want to wait for part 2, you can watch the full story on my YouTube channel. Just tap share, then more. And click the YouTube link here on my profile. Or search for the channel Cooper Reddit on YouTube. The line was dead quiet for a long moment after he finished recounting Vanessa's betrayal. I could hear the faint, hollow sound of traffic on his end. He was still out on the street. Adrian, I finally said, my voice barely above a whisper so as not to wake Lily. Did you really call me to look for sympathy, because the woman you left me for turned out to be exactly who I told you she was 4 years ago? He exhaled a ragged breath. No. I called you because I didn't know who else would listen. And because, Rachel, I swear to God I didn't know about the money. Or the condo. I signed the transfer papers myself. I saw the deed with your name on it. And then you handed it to Ethan and you never looked back. I replied, the ice in my veins hardening. You didn't check to see if we moved in. You didn't check to see if the mother of your child was safe. You just washed your hands of us so you could play house with Vanessa. For 4 years, Adrian. For winters. Do you know how cold this apartment gets in January? Do you know what it feels like to wrap your sick toddler in your own coat because you can't afford to run the space heater and buy antibiotics in the same week? Rachel, please, his voice broke. It wasn't the fake, theatrical break of a billionaire pretending to be broke. It was the sound of a man whose entire reality was fracturing. I don't care about your little bankruptcy game. I cut him off. I don't care about your bruised ego. But if Vanessa and Ethan forged my signature and stole $10 million that belonged to my daughter's future, I am going to see them both in a concrete cell. Do you understand me? I'll handle it, he promised, his tone suddenly shifting from self-pity to a cold, familiar ruthlessness. I'll call my legal team tomorrow morning. I'll have Ethan audited. No, I stopped him. You said this was a game, right? Your friends are in on it. The board is in on it. You're supposed to be broke for a month. Yes, but this is grand larceny, Rachel. This isn't a game anymore. If you drop the act now, Ethan will know you're onto him. He manages your offshore accounts, doesn't he? If you spook him, he could wire that money to a non-extradition country before your lawyers even file the paperwork. Vanessa will panic and liquidate whatever she can. You need to stay dead, Adrian. Financially speaking. There was a heavy silence on the line. I could almost hear the gears turning in his head. He was a brilliant businessman, even if he was a catastrophic failure as a husband. He saw the logic instantly. What do you want to do? He asked. Where are you sleeping tonight? I asked instead. My car. The Porsche was repossessed yesterday, so I bought a beat-up sedan for the act. Sleep in your car. Tomorrow morning, meet me at the diner 2 blocks from my apartment. Bring copies of the original settlement documents if you can get them without raising suspicion. We're going to hunt them down. But we do it my way. I hung up before he could respond. I walked into Lily's bedroom. She was sprawled across her twin bed, clutching a cheap plastic tiara in her sleep. I sat on the edge of the mattress and brushed the hair from her forehead. For 4 years, I I had convinced myself that we didn't need his money. I had worn my struggle like a badge of honor, proud that I could keep her fed and smiling without a dime of the Cole family fortune. But looking at her now, knowing she had been robbed of comfort, of security, of a college fund, robbed by the very woman who had destroyed our family, a dark, quiet fury ignited in my chest. I wasn't going to just survive anymore. I was going to collect. The diner smelled like stale coffee and fried bacon. It was 7 a.m. I sat in a vinyl booth near the back, nursing a black coffee. The bell above the door chimed, and Adrian walked in. In the harsh daylight, his broke disguise looked even more pathetic. He wore faded jeans, a scuffed jacket, and a baseball cap pulled low. He looked exhausted. He slid into the booth across from me and placed a thick, unmarked manila envelope on the table. I couldn't sleep, he muttered, gesturing to the waitress for a coffee. I spent the night making calls from a burner phone to an old private investigator I used to use before Ethan took over my security details. And? I asked, pulling the envelope toward me. Ethan and Vanessa, Adrian said, his jaw clenching so tight the muscles twitched. They aren't just co-conspirators. They've been sleeping together for 2 years. I paused, my hand resting on the envelope. A bitter laugh escaped my lips. Oh, Adrian, you really know how to pick them. He looked away, his face pale. I deserve that. I deserve all of it. The investigator pulled some preliminary bank records. The $10 million was routed through a dummy corporation in the Caymans right after I signed it over. The condo at Mirador Heights? Ethan forged your signature on a power of attorney, sold the property to a shell LLC owned by Vanessa's brother, and pocketed the cash. I opened the envelope. Inside were copies of the deed, the wire transfers, and the forged power of attorney. I stared at the signature. It looked remarkably like mine, but the loop on the R was slightly too sharp. Why didn't anyone contact me? I asked, my voice trembling with suppressed rage. The lawyers? The escrow agents. Ethan controlled the flow of information, Adrian explained, his voice thick with self-disgust. He was my right hand. If he said you preferred to communicate only through him because you hated me, the lawyers believed it. I believed it. Because it was easier to believe I was a bitter ex-wife than to actually pick up the phone and check on your child, I stated flatly. He didn't defend himself. He just stared at his coffee cup. Rachel, I am going to get every single cent back. With interest. I swear on my life. You're damn right you are, I said, sliding the documents back into the envelope. But we need more than preliminary bank records to ensure they both do hard time. We need a confession, or we need to catch them attempting to move the stolen assets. How? Vanessa thinks you're broke. She thinks she's dodged a bullet. What is her next move? Adrian frowned, thinking. She needs a new host. Vanessa doesn't know how to live without a black card. With me supposedly bankrupt, she'll try to pivot to someone else in our circle. Someone who can maintain her lifestyle. Who in your circle is playing this game with you? Marcus Vance, Adrian said immediately. He's the one who suggested the bankruptcy trial in the first place. He's currently pretending to be out of the country on a spiritual retreat, but he's actually monitoring his own fiancé's reactions to a fake tax evasion scandal. Call Marcus, I said. Tell him the game just got real. We need him to be Vanessa's next target. Over the next week, the trap was meticulously set. Marcus was a brilliant actor. He returned from his retreat, playing the role of the sympathetic friend who had narrowly avoided Adrian's financial collapse. True to form, Vanessa wasted no time. Within 3 days of dumping Adrian, she was spotted having drinks with Marcus at an exclusive rooftop lounge in the city. Meanwhile, Adrian practically lived in his beat-up sedan, parked down the street from my apartment. He insisted on acting as a bodyguard, paranoid that Ethan might realize we were onto them and try to silence us. I let him sit out there. I didn't invite him in. He had forfeited the right to my home 4 years ago. But Lily noticed. Why is Daddy sleeping in his car? She asked one afternoon as we walked home from preschool, spotting his sedan parked near the fire hydrant. Daddy is going through a confusing time, sweetie, I said carefully, holding her small hand. Is he poor now? Like Jimmy's dad? Something like that. Lily stopped walking. She reached into her little pink backpack and pulled out a slightly crushed granola bar she had saved from lunch. Without waiting for my permission, she marched over to Adrian's car and tapped on the tinted window. The window rolled down. Adrian looked terrible, dark circles under his eyes, a rough beard covering his jaw. Lily, he breathed, looking at her like she was an apparition. She held up the granola bar through the window. Mommy says you're poor now. You can have my snack. But you can't eat the wrapper. Adrian stared at the crushed oat bar. His hands shook as he took it from her. Tears, real and unbidden, spilled over his lower lashes, tracking down his dusty cheeks. He looked at me, standing a few feet away, and then back at his daughter. Thank you, princess, he choked out, his voice cracking entirely. I'll eat it right now. Okay. Bye, Daddy, she said cheerfully, skipping back to me. As we walked away, I glanced back. Adrian had his face buried in his hands, his shoulders shaking against the steering wheel. I felt a twinge of pity, but I stomped it out. Regret is easy when you're sitting in the ruins of your own making. Let him feel it. Let him feel a fraction of the desperation I felt when I was watering down Lily's milk to make the gallon last until Friday. That night, my phone rang. It was Marcus. Rachel. Marcus's smooth, aristocratic voice came through the speaker. The bait has been taken. Vanessa has been practically throwing herself at me. She told me Adrian was abusive, financially controlling, and that she left him before his bankruptcy because she feared for her safety. I rolled my eyes. Classic Vanessa. What about Ethan? Ethan has been advising her, Marcus confirmed. I managed to clone her phone during dinner, when she went to the powder room. My tech guy just dumped her messages. Ethan is terrified Adrian's bankruptcy will trigger a federal audit of his personal accounts. He's advising Vanessa to liquidate the Cayman account and transfer the funds to a cryptocurrency wallet they can access from anywhere. They're preparing to run. I said, my pulse quickening. Exactly. But to authorize the bulk transfer, Ethan needs Vanessa's physical signature on a specific set of offshore banking documents. He's meeting her tomorrow night. Where? At my charity gala, Marcus said with a dry chuckle. Vanessa convinced me to be her +1. She thinks she's securing her place as the future Mrs. Vance. Ethan is attending as a favor to the board, supposedly to represent Adrian's former interests. A gala, I mused. The perfect, glittering stage for a disaster. Marcus, can you get me on the guest list? Under a fake name. I'm hosting the event, Rachel. I can get you on stage if you want. Just get me in the room. And make sure Adrian gets past security. He's going to need to look the part of a desperate, broken man one last time. The Vance Foundation Gala was held at the Grand Atrium, a sprawling venue of glass and steel that screamed old money. I hadn't worn a gown in 5 years. I went to a vintage consignment shop and bought a sleek, high-necked black dress that fit like a second skin. I pulled my hair back into a severe chignon and applied a dark red lipstick. I didn't look like the exhausted, struggling single mother from the Garden District. I looked like a ghost from Adrian's past, resurrected for revenge. I arrived in a cab, slipping through the side entrance Marcus had arranged. The ballroom was blindingly bright, filled with the scent of expensive perfume, imported orchids, and champagne. I stayed in the shadows near the back bar, nursing a sparkling water, watching the room. It didn't take long to spot her. Vanessa was holding court near a towering ice sculpture, draped in a backless emerald green gown that probably cost more than my annual rent. She had her hand resting possessively on Marcus's arm, laughing a little too loudly at a joke someone made. She looked triumphant. She thought she had survived the sinking ship and successfully boarded a luxury yacht. A few feet away, hovering near a cocktail table, was Ethan. He looked immaculate in a tailored tuxedo, sipping a martini, though his eyes darted around the room with the nervous energy of a hunted animal. He held a slim, black leather briefcase in his left hand. The transfer documents. I waited. The plan required precision. At exactly 9 p.m., the string quartet abruptly stopped playing. A commotion broke out near the main entrance. The heavy mahogany doors were shoved open, and security guards were shouting, "Sir, you can't be in here. Sir." The crowd parted with gasps of shock and disgust. Adrian stumbled into the ballroom. He hadn't shaved. He was wearing the same scuffed jacket and dirty jeans. He looked feral, desperate, and completely unhinged. "Vanessa!" Adrian bellowed, his voice echoing off the vaulted ceilings. The entire ballroom fell dead silent. Hundreds of pairs of eyes turned to watch the spectacular implosion of Adrian Cole. Vanessa froze, the color draining from her meticulously contoured face. She shrank back behind Marcus, her eyes wide with horror. "Adrian, what the hell are you doing?" Ethan stepped forward, his voice low and panicked, trying to intercept his former boss. "Security, get him out of here." "Don't touch me, Ethan." Adrian shoved his former assistant backward. He stumbled toward Vanessa, pointing a shaking finger at her. "You promised me. You said we were in this together. I lost everything, Vanessa, and you wouldn't even let me sleep in the guest room." Whispers erupted through the crowd like wildfire. "Is that Adrian Cole? I heard he was bankrupt. Look at him, he looks like a vagrant." "Adrian, stop it. You're embarrassing yourself," Vanessa hissed, her face burning with humiliation. She turned to Marcus, her eyes pleading. "Marcus, please have him removed. He's unstable." Marcus, playing his part to perfection, stepped in front of Vanessa. "Adrian, old friend. I'm sorry for your troubles, but this isn't the time or the place. You need to leave." "You're sleeping with her now, Marcus?" Adrian laughed, a harsh, grating sound. "Take her. But she owes me. I want my watch back, Vanessa. The Patek Philippe I gave you for your birthday. Sell it and give me the cash. I need to eat." "I don't have it," she shrieked, her poised facade completely shattering. "Get out. You're a loser, Adrian. You have nothing. You are nothing." "I'm nothing?" Adrian's voice dropped, the manic energy suddenly evaporating, replaced by a chilling, absolute calm. He straightened his posture. He didn't look like a beggar anymore. Even in the dirty clothes, the billionaire aura snapped back into place. I may have nothing, Adrian said, staring dead into her eyes. But at least I didn't steal $10 million from a 4-year-old child. The silence in the room became suffocating. Vanessa stepped back, her breath hitching. I don't know what you're talking about. Don't you? I stepped out from the shadows. The click of my heels against the marble floor sounded like gunshots in the quiet room. The crowd parted for me. I walked straight past the whispering socialites, past Marcus, and stopped a few feet from Vanessa. Vanessa stared at me, her eyes bugging out of her head. Rachel? What is this? Hello, Vanessa, I said smoothly. I turned to look at Ethan, who was backing away toward the exit, his face ghostly pale. Going somewhere, Ethan? Before you get Vanessa to sign the wire transfer authorization in that briefcase. Ethan froze. Marcus, Adrian said casually, crossing his arms. If you would. Marcus nodded. He pulled a small remote from his pocket and pressed a button. The massive digital screens behind the stage, which had been displaying the Charity Foundation's logo, suddenly flickered. A high-definition projection illuminated the room. It was a blown-up image of the forged power of attorney, side by side with my actual signature. Click. The screen changed. It displayed a flowchart tracing $10 million from the Adrian Cole marital settlement escrow account, straight into an LLC registered under Vanessa's brother's name. Click. The screen changed again. This time, it was an audio waveform. Marcus had connected his phone to the ballroom sound system. The audio he had ripped from Vanessa's phone played over the speakers. Ethan's voice. Vanessa, he's bankrupt. If the feds audit his past 5 years, they'll find the Mirador condo sale. You need to sign the Cayman release forms tonight, so I can convert the 10 mil to crypto. We can disappear. Vanessa's voice. Just bring the papers to the gala. Marcus is an idiot, he'll be busy schmoozing. Once the money is hidden, we let Adrian rot. The audio echoed off the walls. Vanessa let out a strangled, breathless squeak. She looked around frantically. The elite society she had worshipped, the people she had tried to impress her entire life, were staring at her with unvarnished disgust. You set me up, she whispered, looking at Marcus. You set yourself up, Vanessa, Marcus said coldly, stepping away from her as if she were diseased. Adrian's bankruptcy was a test. A game we played to see who was loyal. He never lost a dime. But congratulations. Your greed uncovered a federal crime. Vanessa's knees buckled. She collapsed onto the marble floor, her emerald gown pooling around her. She looked up at Adrian, tears streaming down her face. Adrian, please. It was Ethan. He made me do it. I didn't want to. Shut up, Vanessa, Adrian said, his voice laced with absolute revulsion. He didn't even look at her. He looked at Ethan. Ethan had dropped the briefcase and was making a mad dash for the service exit. He didn't make it 5 steps. 2 men in dark suits stepped out from the kitchen corridor, flashing badges. FBI. Marcus had arranged for them to be waiting in the wings. Ethan Vance, Vanessa Hart, one of the agents said loudly, stepping into the ballroom and pulling out handcuffs. You are under arrest for wire fraud, identity theft, and conspiracy to commit grand larceny. They hauled Ethan up by his arms. He didn't fight. He just looked defeated. Another agent hauled Vanessa to her feet. She screamed, thrashing against the handcuffs, her perfectly styled hair falling into her face. Adrian, help me. You loved me. You left her for me. She pointed a manicured, trembling finger at me. Adrian finally looked at her. I was a fool, Vanessa. But the game is over. As they dragged her out, kicking and screaming, the ballroom remained frozen in shock. Adrian turned to me. The anger had left him, replaced by a profound, heavy exhaustion. He looked at me, his eyes searching mine for something. Forgiveness? Approval? It's done, he said quietly. The FBI has the accounts frozen. They'll reverse the transfers. You and Lily will have your money by the end of the month. I looked at him, at the man who had been my entire world, who had broken my heart, and who had just orchestrated the public execution of the woman he left me for. Thank you, I said simply. Rachel, he stepped closer, his voice dropping to a whisper meant only for me. You were right. About everything. About her. About me. When I was sitting on that sidewalk, and Vanessa threw me out. The only place I wanted to go was to you. You passed the test, Rachel. You let me in when I had nothing. I stared at him. I could hear the desperate hope in his voice. He thought this was a movie. He thought the villain was defeated, the truth was revealed, and now the hero and the wronged wife would walk off into the sunset together. I felt a cold, hard knot form in my chest. I passed the test. I repeated, my voice dangerously low. Adrian nodded, a tentative, relieved smile touching his lips. Yes, you showed me what real loyalty is. What real love is. I want to come home, Rachel. I want to fix our family. I didn't slap him. I didn't yell. I just looked at him with a pity so profound it made him flinch. You still don't get it, do you, Adrian? I said softly. His smile faltered. Get what? This wasn't a test for me, I said, my words deliberate and sharp as glass. It was a mirror for you. And what it showed is a man who is so arrogant, so blinded by his own wealth, that he thought he could invent a fake tragedy just to see who would dance for his pennies. Rachel, I didn't let you into my apartment because I love you. I cut him off, my voice steady. I let you in because my 4-year-old daughter begged me to. I let you in because I am a mother before I am anything else, and she wanted her father to blow out her birthday candles. Not because I was proving my loyalty to a man who abandoned us in the cold for 4 years. Adrian stepped back, the color completely draining from his face. The reality of my words hit him harder than Vanessa's betrayal ever could. You thought because the money was stolen, that excused your absence? I continued, stepping closer, refusing to let him look away. You didn't check on us, Adrian. Bankrupt or billionaires, fathers check on their children. You didn't. You let Ethan manage your conscience just like he managed your portfolio. I was a coward, he choked out, tears shining in his eyes. I know I was. And I survived it. I said, lifting my chin. I survived you. I built a life for my daughter with my own 2 hands. I don't need your test to prove my worth. And I am not a prize you get to claim just because your eyes are finally open. Rachel, please, he begged, not caring who was watching. Don't say that. I can change. I can be the man you need. I don't need a man, Adrian, I said, turning away. I just need the $10 million you owe my daughter. When it clears, you can contact my lawyer to arrange supervised visitation for Lily. Do not call my personal number again. I didn't wait for his response. I walked through the silent crowd of billionaires and socialites, my head held high, and walked out the front doors of the grand atrium. The night air was cold, but I had never felt warmer. 1 year later. Mommy, the cupcakes are burning. They're not burning, Bug, they're caramelizing. I yelled back, laughing as I pulled the tray of vanilla bean cupcakes out of the industrial oven. The bakery smelled like heaven, butter, sugar, and roasted pecans. It had been 12 months since the gala. The FBI investigation had been swift. Ethan and Vanessa both plead guilty to avoid federal trials. They were currently serving 7-year sentences in minimum security facilities. The $10 million, plus damages and accrued interest, had been returned to me. I didn't buy a mansion at Mirador Heights. Instead, I bought a beautiful, sprawling 5-bedroom house in a quiet, leafy suburb with excellent public schools. I set up an ironclad trust fund for Lily that Adrian couldn't touch. And with a fraction of the remaining money, I bought a commercial storefront downtown and opened Lily's sweet shop. It was thriving. I had hired a staff of 3. We had a line out the door on weekends, and I had never felt more fulfilled in my entire life. The bell above the bakery door chimed. I wiped my hands on my apron and walked out from the kitchen. Adrian was standing near the display case. He looked entirely different from the man I had married, and the man who had crashed the gala. He looked normal. He was wearing a simple button-down shirt and khakis. The arrogant swagger was gone, replaced by a quiet, cautious humility. Since the night of the gala, he had respected my boundaries. He hadn't tried to win me back with grand gestures or aggressive manipulation. He went to therapy. He stepped down as CEO of his company, taking a quieter role on the board, and dedicated his time to rebuilding his relationship with his daughter. He was a good father now. He showed up to every ballet recital, every parent-teacher conference. He didn't send his assistant to buy Lily's gifts. He handpicked them himself. Hey, he said, offering a small, polite smile. Am I early? A little, I said, stepping behind the counter. Lily is still in the back decorating a cookie for you. It's your weekend, right? Yeah. We're going to the zoo. She wanted to see the red pandas. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, wrapped box, placing it on the counter. This is for you. Happy anniversary. I looked at the box, then up at him, raising an eyebrow. Adrian, we've been divorced for 5 years. Not our wedding anniversary, he chuckled softly, rubbing the back of his neck. The anniversary of the bakery opening. 1 year. I paused, a genuine smile touching my lips. Oh, thank you. You've done amazing with this place, Rachel. Truly. He looked around the bustling shop, a look of genuine respect in his eyes. He didn't look at it like it was a cute little hobby. He looked at it like the empire I had built with my own hands. Daddy. Lily came sprinting out of the back room, covered in flour and holding a massive, misshapen cookie covered in blue frosting. She threw herself at Adrian's legs. He dropped to one knee, catching her effortlessly and spinning her around. There's my favorite girl. Is that cookie for me? I made it myself, she beamed proudly. It looks delicious, he said, kissing her cheek. He stood up holding her hand and looked at me. Are you sure you don't want to come with us to the zoo? I know it's my weekend, but Lily would love it if you came. A year ago, I would have said no out of spite. But looking at them now, the anger that had fueled me for so long felt incredibly distant. Adrian would never be my husband again. The trust was irreparably broken, and the romantic love I once had for him had burned out long ago. But he was a good father, and we had found peace. Not today, Adrian. I smiled, untying my apron. I have a date. Adrian's breath hitched slightly, a flash of something painful crossing his eyes, but he masked it instantly. He nodded, forcing a supportive smile. Oh, that's great, Rachel. I hope you have a wonderful time. I will, I said, coming around the counter to kiss Lily's forehead. Be good for your dad, Bug. No cotton candy before lunch. Okay, Mommy. I watched them walk out of the bakery, hand in hand, stepping out into the bright afternoon sun. I took a deep breath, the scent of vanilla and sugar filling my lungs. I didn't need to pass a test to know my worth. I had faced the absolute bottom, clawed my way back to the light, and built a world where I was the only one holding the keys. I grabbed my purse, flipped the open sign to closed, and walked out the door to meet my future.